Hey, are you tired of not getting a perfect 1/4 inch seam? Let me show you how moving your needle can make it easier on your seams. Some of you guys have seen my little trick of finding your 1/4 inch. A lot of our machines now come with fancy feet that give you that 1/4 inch, but did you know that you could also move your needle? Because how often do you start thinking or you start sewing thinking that you're going to get that 1/4 inch and you're off? And that could possibly be because of your pressing. If you're cutting and your cutting is not perfectly straight, then you can think that you have a 1/4 inch setting on your machine, but when you're all said and done, it wasn't cut correctly. Or so starting with the right cuts is hugely important. But if for some reason you're still not getting a perfect 1/4 inch, there might be a way for you to move your needle over just slightly. When you are on a straight stitch, and I'm going to select a straight stitch here, you'll notice that when I selected my number one put the needle in the center position. My number two moved it over to the 1/4 inch. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll go ahead and stitch the block together just to kind of see if I'm going to be right on that seam, right on that 1/4. But if for some reason I can't, then your width setting, and I'm going to open this up, so I'm going to select the 1/4 inch setting. But if for some reason you're still getting a pretty big 1/4, maybe you need a slant 1/4 or just a hair short of a 1/4 inch seam, or maybe you need a full seam, you can move your needle from left to right by simply selecting your width. So on a straight stitch, we have no width, but the width now becomes, and as I select my minus and my plus, you'll notice how my needle moves over. So I'm going to go minus and it's going to go to the left. So I don't know if you can see how that needle is moving to the left, or I can move it over to the right. So that's as far over to the right as I'm going to get. I'm going to stitch this out so that you can see the difference in the settings. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to bring my needle up and I'm going to select. I went to the left. And just those 2-3 clicks, you can see a total difference between that 1/4 and that 1/4. I'm still using a 1/4 inch foot because I love the fact that I have that little guide to help keep my fabric nice and straight. But I have the ability to move that needle to make it a perfected seam. The other thing I wanted to say about the seams is that when you press your seams to the dark side or to whatever side you're pressing, if you're not pressing from the front side of the fabric, then chances are you're getting a little bit of a fold on that seam, and that could be another reason why your seam is not a perfect 1/4 inch. A lot of times you'll hear people say that they press their seam open. When you press your seam open, that gives you even more of a better 1/4 because you have distributed that seam allowance evenly. A lot of quilters do not like this because it actually the strength of your seam is not as strong as when it is over to one side. So that's why we press normally to the dark side. Again, with any quilt, before I start stitching, I always test the seam with one full block to make sure if I need to make those adjustments, I go ahead and make them. And then I have on my machine a favorite stitch setting, which means that I can program the width and the length of that stitch, save it to my preferred or my favorite stitch, and when I turn off my machine and turn it on, some machines will remember it, some machines you just select it again, instead of having to reinvent the whole stitch setting on your machine. I hope this is helpful. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you guys soon.